Hi, I'm Kitty Felde, and welcome to another edition of the Book Club of the Year for Young Adults. We're talking about a very interesting book today. It is called Godless, and it is by Pete Hautman. And I am joined by a trio of middle schoolers who are here from Wilmington Middle School. And here next to me is Joseph McConica. Hi, Joseph.
Hello.
And Lydia Gutierrez. Hi, Lydia.
Hello.
Hello. And Richard Padilla. Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Hi. Well, let's talk a little bit about this book. Who wants to tell what it's all about?
I'll start.
All right, Richard, go for it.
Godless is basically about a boy who is tired of his parents' religion because maybe they're too hard on him, and they're like, his mom is like a control freak, I guess, and he wanted to make his own religion because he wanted to see other than what his father said. So, and he gets in a lot of mess.
Well, let's talk about what happens. What's his religion based on, Lydia?
They're worshiping a water tower, and
why?
Because they think that since water is a really good resource that they use around the city, that they think that's really powerful and that's their god.
And the water tower? Why the water tower, Joseph?
Because there was a boy named Henry who punched the boy named Jason, and he fell on the floor, and he was looking up, and he happened to see a water tower, and something like dawned on him, and he was like, hey, we could worship the water tower.
This gets him into a lot of trouble with a lot of different people. How come? What happens next? Lydia?
Well, he gets in a lot of trouble because he can't manage the religion. So he has a lot of people not a lot of people, but he has his friends join it, and then since he can't manage it, afterwards they try to climb the water tower and they get caught, and so that makes him go to jail, and then it grounds him for life.
What are some of the things that go wrong, Richard?
It starts out by him wanting to climb the water tower because since everyone worships a god that you can't see, touch, or kind of have a personal relationship, but not very a human. Mm-hmm. So he was like, well, if we were to worship something, why can't it be something that we can feel, touch, and relate to that is on earth? So he wanted to relate to something that he can touch, like a water tower, and he felt that it's powerful because water is a great resource and humans cannot live without it. So he wanted to make that known that it is a great resource.
I want to talk a little about the theology of it, but we got an email. Book Club of the Year got an email today, as a matter of fact, from the writer, Pete Hautman. He sent us an email.
Whoa.
And he says, I'm actually 3,000 miles away in New York City today, so this message is being slowly pecked out on my iPod. He says, I have a question for the book club. At the end of Godless, is Jason happier, smarter, or better off than he was at the beginning? And why do you think that?
I think he's better off from the beginning because it all started out with him getting punched, and if he didn't get punched, he wouldn't have people get mad at him, and no one likes him anymore, but everyone's mad at him.
Even at the end of the book?
Yeah, they're still mad at him. But
did he not learn anything?
He learned that to have faith in what you believe in your religion, it will make you stronger, so you don't have to why do I have to do this if I don't see the person? But you have to have a strong faith.
I'd like to add to that. It's also, I think it's a good learning experience for him because if he wouldn't have never went through that, later in life he might have went through something more serious as an adult. And instead of going through it now and learning what it is about and having the feeling of I went through that, I know what it's like.
Well, what kind of lesson do you think later in life, going through what he went through with the water tower religion, I mean, why would that help him later in life, do you think?
Maybe because since he knows now that religion is a serious like subject to think upon, to like research more and take it seriously, and if he's serious about it, to like not just make it because maybe he wants to be different than someone else, to actually put thought into it.
Lydia, what do you think? Is he better off at the end than he was at the beginning?
Yeah, I think he really learned, like, he wasn't like, so, I'm not going to worship it anymore, but I think he learned better now, like, how strong your faith has to be, like, because most of the time when you're worshiping something is because you have strong faith in it. So he doesn't really have that faith, so he stays with the water tower for now. But then that for now means like he'll probably change his mind later, because he knows that like that's not gonna go very far for him.
I thought a long time before we chose this book, because I thought it could really make a lot of people mad.
Yeah.
Because religion isn't something we generally talk about, you know, especially in public schools and things like that.
Yeah, religion gets a lot of people mad. Like, you might offend someone else, and they get on your case, and just
Like
I don't like talking about religion. It's like big
politics.
blur.
Like politics, yeah. And a guy who invents a religion about a water tower could probably upset a lot of people.
Yes.
Destroy a town.
I think the author might have thought about worshiping a water tower, because if he like had wrote about this, he might have put some thought into it too.
Well, what do you think the writer is trying to tell us about faith, about religion?
Maybe to like do research on it before you just get yourself into something that you don't know about, and not to just make something up that you know isn't gonna last.
Well, what did it make you think about, you know, your own faith or your own religion? Did it make you look at the way you were brought up?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it differently. Like a religion is not a game. You can't like just I'll make up a religion and then forget about it. It really takes some time and a lot of followers to help you.
But Jason's struggling in this book. Jason is having a problem believing everything his parents had taught him. He was brought up Catholic, and he's goes to the youth group, but he has a hard time with it.
Yeah. Well, I think too because of his age, since he's a teen, and then you're just kind of bored because it was during the summer too. So he had really nothing to think about, and then so I guess that really like brought him up to a point like, oh, I don't know, like he probably like, oh, I should like question my religion, because he didn't really have a lot of faith in it, and then he was jealous of his dad because his dad really did have a really strong faith. So he really like, he was really confused. It was a confused period of time.
Yeah. He didn't know if he like, do I stick with my dad who like always thinks this religion is good for me, or should I just like change it and be something else? He's like confused.
Well, could you identify with Jason? Have these thoughts gone through your own head at your age yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yes and no. Okay, well, it's Richard, you want to start?
Just recently, because my family, one side of my family has two different perspectives, and I have a hard time choosing because...
Two different religions?
Yes, because I have a hard time picking, because I have to really do... I'm doing research on it right now and trying to pick out which one, what suits me best.
Are you getting pressure from one side or the other?
No, they're actually helping me.
That's good. That's good. Well, I don't know. How do you do research so that's up in your head, but then how do you make a decision about that?
Well, you have to feel in your comfort zone. You have to be comfortable where you're at, like going to different churches, going to a Catholic and a Christian church, and seeing what you like best.
I'm going to come back to you, Lydia, but Joseph, you said you were having the same kind of struggle at this age.
Yeah, because I was like, why do we go to church? Like, if you go to church and you talk about like stuff that never happened to you, like, oh, I lost all my money and I'm in struggle, but God is still there. Like, that never happened to me. So I'm like, what? how am I supposed to relate to that?
So you're looking for something that really relates to your life today.
Yeah.
And you're not finding that right now.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of getting to me now.
It's sinking in.
Yeah.
But Lydia, you said no, you're comfortable where you're at right now.
Yeah, I am. Like, I'm really comfortable. Like, I have, like, before questions sometimes, but then I kind of went back to it and it made more sense to me. Like, oh, yeah. And then it got to my head and I just kept at it.
I went to Catholic school for 12 years. And then when I went to college, or, I stopped going to church for a while, but then I started going back. But because it's kind of like, sometimes it's like the waves, sometimes you feel very strong and sometimes you just don't. Depends on where that's at. So would this book, do you think, would middle schoolers relate to this struggle that Jason is having in here? This is not something that older people go through. This is something that middle schoolers are struggling with.
Yes.
Like, probably not, like, right now.
Yeah.
But, like, maybe in 2 or, like, 1 year, because he's, like, 16 in that book. So probably there is people that are questioning their own religion, but then there's some that really have strong faith in them because their parents, they have strong faith, so then that makes their kids have strong.
Did you find the youth group funny, the meetings? Or did I just...
Yeah,
I found that
the
funny.
TPO.
Yeah.
Describe them.
Just Al. Makes me laugh.
Just Al, the guy who ran the meetings. Why were they funny? I was trying to think of this later. Why did they strike me as so funny?
Because of, I guess, they mentioned his speeches.
Oh yeah, the speeches.
He's one guy. He's one great guy.
Talking about God.
Yeah.
Yes.
One great
One
guy.
great dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
it just
awesome.
sounded awful. There's a phrase that the writer uses to describe Jason. His parents tell him that your friends listen to what you say.
Yeah.
Do you think
That
Jason
was-
knows? Yeah.
Yeah, and he got like his dad tells him that, and he gets that stuck in his head a lot. Like, wow, like my friends listen to me.
Do you think he believes that though, especially at the beginning of the book?
Yeah, he's not really. Because he thought that they were just going to give up and go away and it'd just be like nothing. It's like if you get an ice cream, you eat it, it's all gone, it's done. You have nothing else to do.
He didn't realize that it would last. This
Yeah. I think it would
pretend
get
religion he
serious.
set up.
It was easy for him to make the religion, but it wasn't easy for him to keep up with it because he had a hard time like managing it.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I think that was interesting that who got to be the boss, who got to be the Pope in this religion and how everybody sort of wanted to be in charge. What happened?
I guess he was the main like person in the religion because he thought of it and made it up and came up with the idea of even making a religion. I mean, if it wasn't for him, nothing of this sort kind of thing would have happened.
Yeah.
And
Why? Go ahead.
Yeah, and everything kind of like just led to him. Like Shin, his friend Shin, and then Henry, they're like, oh, like you should be in charge. And then so like, yeah, that's how he got to be in charge.
I think it kind of surprised him that he was in charge. I mean, I don't think at the beginning of the book, he thought of himself as being this leader.
I think he did because he called himself Kahuna or something like that.
Oh, he did
Yeah.
call himself Kahuna, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like, I'm in charge and I'm created this religion. But I didn't think it would go that far.
Well, he kind of also thought of himself as sort of with the nerd crowd, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he hang out with Shin.
Well, let's describe Shin.
Well, in the story, it said that he was like really skinny and he was like
Nerdy.
nerdy, and he like knew a lot. Like once he got into something, he really stuck to it.
Like what? Describe some of the things he was really into.
Like snails
Gastropods.
It wasn't
Yeah.
just snails.
or
Gastro-
frogs.
Pods,
Yeah, but he had, like, what did he
slimes.
do? He set up this whole...
It was like environment. For
Yeah, it's like
them.
a fish tank full of
Yeah.
snails and pods and slime and
And
stuff everywhere.
I think that's what led them to the water tower when they were searching for the gastropods.
Yeah.
But what happens to Shin through the book? Because he changes quite a bit also.
Yes.
Yeah, because Jason gets him like really into it, and like I said before, once he gets into it, he really sticks to it. So then afterwards, like when he was telling Jason, "No, you're not taking it serious," and then he's like, oh, like the water towers can talk to me, like I can feel it. And then he's like, you know what, I have to climb the water tower, because the first time, like all of them went up there except for him. And then, yeah, because he chickened out. And then, so afterwards, he's like, I have to go up there, I have to go up there. And once he got up there, like, nobody could get him down. And then Jason went up there because he had seen him. But then afterwards, Jason had to call the cops to get him down.
Well, I wonder, was Shin, you know, I had it sort of in my head, was it that he was one of these guys who, you know, if he went to a Star Trek convention, you know, he'd wear the ears, he would, you know, talk Vulcan and all that kind of stuff. Or was there, the person. He would be, or was he, I mean, was he just kind of a fanatic, or was he kind of had some mental instability there? Like I couldn't quite decide.
He didn't, he was
psychological problem.
More of like a shy person.
Yeah.
Like, and I think toward the end he had a strive to do what others were doing, going up the water tower. And he was very upset that he couldn't do it because he had trouble doing it.
He was very scared of that.
Yes. And I guess toward the end he had to do it. Like there was no stopping him.
Yeah. Do you know people like Shin in school who are sort of single-minded? You know, you can't stop them from anything once they get their mind set on something.
Yeah, I have a friend like that.
Stubborn.
Stubborn. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Shin was kind of weird. He had to go in like to this ball mode where he